Hello, ladies, gentlemen, everyone in between and beyond. My name is Taylor, and this is Into the Emberlands, the brand new storybook, cozy exploration town building game with a roguelike twist that recently hit early access on Steam. Now, for full disclosure, this game was provided to me through Press Engine from the publisher Daedalic, or Daedalic, I'm not quite sure, Entertainment. So thank you to Press Engine and Daedalic Entertainment. As per usual, I do not let this affect my views of the game, and the Steam page will be linked down below so you can check the game out now for yourself. Developed by TinyRoar, this gorgeous-looking storybook-style game sets you in a world plagued by a dangerous miasma that seemingly eliminates your presence as though you never existed. You play as just a little guy, known as the Lightbearer, and your job, because no one else wants to do it, is to take the lantern with a piece of ember and explore the world. Gather resources and bring back villagers that are known as Knacks. Using the Knacks and the resources you find around the world, you can build new buildings and slowly expand the town, growing your Ember Tower in the process, which allows you to move even farther into the map. Now, the game uses a click-to-move system, and you might be thinking that I'm moving a little slowly, and I would agree here. The movement feels really slow and deliberate, but I kind of understand why. Similar to something like XCOM, every movement costs some Ember or Lantern energy. One energy for each tile. This means that you have to carefully route to the areas you want to reach so that the lantern doesn't go out in the process. When it does, you are consumed by the miasma and the world forgets about you. You lose any collected resources and upgrades to your lanterns, but all upgraded buildings and the general state of the world seem to stay consistent through each run. To help you fend off the miasma, you can return to town, which will instantly give you all of your ember back so that your lantern is maxed out. The other option is finding ember out in the world. Now, these little pieces of ember out in the world do two things. One, they give you lantern energy, or ember, and they give you a resource, whether that be a coin, stone, or wood. Whether it be a coin, stone, or wood. Now, these resources are used to, build buildings and kind of progress the game state, but they can also be used to help out the lazy trolls that you'll see on the map. Now, when you help one of these trolls, they'll often reward you with either more coins or an ember crystal. Now, ember crystals are useful for buildings, but also for certain upgrades later on down the line, including giving them to these cluck tower things. They're giant, long-necked chickens that will give you either a coin purse upgrade or a lantern upgrade. But again, I'll get into those in a little bit. So the building upgrades serve two purposes. One is to give the player access to new services, such as a store, or a place to, bring an axe to get coins, or just other small things, as well as, say, somewhere to give you starter tools for each run. And another is the reward, such as coins or ember crystals. As I mentioned, these crystals are important because they can be used for further upgrades. They can also be fed to the weird chicken things for the aforementioned upgrades. And to go along with these, there are also metro stations that I discovered far from town. Now, I only found one of them, and I didn't have a chance to activate it because I have a lot going on right now, so I didn't play this game for too long. I put about an hour in. Now, if you find these, you can use ember crystals to activate them, and they act as a sort of fast travel point. Now, like I said, I did not have a chance to activate it in the time that I played so far, but I did unlock the metro station, which tells me that, hey, this will likely stay between runs, meaning that as long as you get a fast travel point, you can go back to that area in any future runs, and it'll help make that exploration just that much easier. Now, when you save a knack, they will also give you about 10 ember, which is either on average a third to a quarter of your total lantern energy. So that can be really helpful because you have to leave them back to the village. So you not only spend ember to get out there, you need to spend the ember to get back as well, because the miasma kind of circles around you at all times. This, unfortunately, is what led me to my first and many of my other deaths. I've gone out of my way for one or two knacks, and I did not plan properly, which meant that I was one measly step from town when I ran out of ember. Now, I mentioned optimizing routes. You do this through tools such as an axe and a pickaxe with different levels that affect how many charges they can be used for before breaking, and requiring you to either find or buy yet another one. Now, it's really important to have these tools because you can create your own paths by cutting down trees or stone to have more direct access, which means it will take fewer tiles and fewer steps to get back home, ensuring you likely have the appropriate ember that you would need. They are also, of course, very useful because you need them for buildings, you need them for certain quests and other things like that. honestly, when I first booted up this game, I was not expecting to have it this level of, depth and complexity to the routing, but I'm here for it. I'm okay with it. I'm happy with it. It's just not something that it kind of gives away right at the very start. And I want to make very clear that I'm very bad with these sorts of things and did not utilize the mechanics like the rotating camera that the game gave me to their fullest to be able to, play properly. So the gameplay you're seeing is very much unoptimized. Now, I did mention the tools and that you can find them out in the world. So in some cases, you'll find an axe or a pickaxe just kind of out in the world, which will have usually 1 or 2 charges, which will just help you with that little boost to get where you want to go. But you can also find vending machines. Now, vending machines are interesting because they'll sell you different things for different prices, and they're scattered all over the place. You can also encounter furnaces where you can burn resources for ember. You can encounter hands, which will often ask for ember energy in return for coins or wood or other resources. So there's a lot of different things you can do as you're exploring around. Speaking of coins, that's a bit of a sticking point for me because your original coin string can only hold 5. Now, you can get upgrades from either the cult tower, yes, it is called a cult tower, or again, the chickens out in the world by giving them an ember crystal to hold more coins, but these coins become so important later on that I wish I could hold at least 10 at the start, because that would mean the game in the beginning is still pretty accessible, but even into the kind of, I don't want to call it mid-game because I don't know how long the game goes for, you would still have access to more products even if you were to die. But I'll get there in just a second. I will be the first to admit that roguelikes are not always my cup of tea, but I do feel like this game has a good core. I will say that it does create some conflict with those core designs and the ideas that they want to explore in it being a roguelike. It could be because I don't have too much experience with the genre, but it seems like they want to have their cake and eat it too. The map does reset with every death and every time the village levels up, meaning that it doesn't pose too many issues with finding new knacks, but the problems really come in with what you lose, not what's left. Like I said, all of the upgrades that you obtain, whether that's for your lantern or your coin purse and any resources, are all lost on death. Yes, the town is still upgraded, but part of the problem is many of the upgrade rewards you can't get again. Like, you've upgraded the building, great, you got the rewards, like say lantern energy or lantern capacity, sorry, you can't get that again. That's just gone. Or you help this guy out with a quest, great, you got lantern energy, that's just gone. So it makes it harder to collect the amount of resources you need to fill in later parts of the game when you're back to square one in terms of your collection abilities. I think what I would personally prefer is having the game maybe not reset your resource gathering abilities as much, but then maybe regress the town 1 level. Have them forget about some of the buildings. Have them forget about some of the knacks. So that way you still have something to do. You can still reclaim some of the rewards you got and kind of build up to where you need to be for those mid to later parts of the game without losing the ability to get them at a convenient enough rate. Because it can get really tedious with how many you need. And let's say you need 8 stone, but you don't have a pickaxe. The only ones you're finding out in the wild are super far away, so you can barely make it there and back in time. Then you have to go and find the stone to mine, but oh, you got 2 charges and then it's gone. It just becomes really tedious near the point where I'm like, okay, I gotta stop, I got other things to play, but also I feel like I've experienced most of what the game has to offer for now. I would really like it if, and this is just, my personal kind of thoughts on it, they kind of pivoted the game away from being a roguelike, or moved away from some of those roguelike elements, but keep the story elements, keep the miasma, keep the forgetfulness, and make it a more kind of story-based game where the character consistently goes out to try to rescue people and they have to build relationships with some notable NPCs who run specific buildings like the school or the hardware store or whatever. And when they die in the miasma, yes, they get forgotten, but then they have to work on kind of building that core connection with NPCs so that when you've achieved that by helping them out enough, even if the miasma takes you, the NPC doesn't forget you and you get some kind of bonus for every run. So that still keeps the roguelike elements in there, but it kind of softens them up. It makes them more convenient and has more of a story impact than what it does currently. Like I said, this game is in early access on Steam, so obviously it's not feature complete, but it's still really cool. I would absolutely recommend you check it out. It retails for $8.54 Canadian. So, admittedly, again, I only put an hour into the game at this time, but it can get plenty more content as time goes on, and they can add so much more to the game to make it more complex and more interesting. So, I do highly recommend you pick it up. Like I said, thank you again to Daedalic Entertainment and to Press Engine for giving me a code. Links for the early access will be in the description down below. So please, pick it up, check it out for yourselves, and let me know what you think about it. I'd love to hear from you, your thoughts on what you've seen, your thoughts on what you've played, and kind of if you maybe clicked more with the game than I did. With all that being said, thank you, ladies, gentlemen, everyone in between and beyond, so much for being here, for sticking it out. I've got a couple more indie games on the way because for some reason everyone's just like, hey, try out our game, which I'm very happy to. So please, if you're an indie developer or if you know of an indie game that's coming up, that's on, some of the key giving websites, let me know. I would love to check them out. With all that being said, I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye!